Right. So first topic is related to, there was dispute regarding Sardar Sarovar Dam. Okay, Sardar Sarovar Dam we have discussed in geography. Where it is located? You have the Narmada River. Right. This is the dam. Which state? Gujarat. Okay, that's where you have also the tallest statue in the world, Statue of Unity. So, if you look at the dispute, what was dispute about? Settlement of Sardar Sarovar project. Basically, see, thing is that total 4 states are involved here. Which states? Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. Right? These 4 states, because the river originates from Madhya Pradesh, then flows through the Maharashtra, Gujarat, and the water through canal also is transported to the state of Rajasthan. Now there was decade-old financial dispute. Means basically states were not agreeing who will share how much burden of the cost. Cost means several type of cost you have. If you construct such a massive project, you have to take some sort of financial loans. Okay. Second, what you have? People who are being displaced due to the dam. You have to ensure that they are also properly rehabilitated. Okay. Additional shelter is provided to them, or this compensation is provided to them. And then third is related to the running or operating cost we can say. So all of these basically was a source of dispute between these 4 states. Now what has happened recently, all the 4 states have finally agreed that how we would share the cost burden, and this has overall we can say is an example of strengthening of what? Cooperative federalism. States are not working against each other, states are not fighting with each other, rather what they are doing, they are sharing the burden, they are talking together and then trying to solve the issue. Key feature of agreement is covers 2 projects. If you look at the Narmada River, yes, several dams you have. So we have discussed in the river system, Bargi Dam will find. Bargi Dam, then apart from that you have Indira Sagar Dam, this one, Indira Sagar Dam. Then further you have the third dam called as Maheshwar Dam, and then the last one is Sardar Sarovar Dam as such. Total 4 dams. So this particular agreement that we are talking about now, it is not related to all the dams, but it covers 2 dams, mainly Sardar Sarovar and part of the Indira Sagar. Resolves rehabilitation cost expenditure. Okay, addresses construction loan interest, same thing we have discussed. Now, how this matter was resolved? So Gujarat, which is the largest beneficiary of the this dam project, and also the dam is located in the state of Gujarat itself. So it has decided. Earlier, it was saying that I will share only how much percentage of the burden, 50% of financial burden. Now Gujarat said that it will share how much percentage? 75%. That means other state will have to just pay 25% of whatever cost you have. So overall, Madhya Pradesh was having problem because its share was humongous, about 35 to 40%. Now its share would significantly reduce, financial burden would significantly reduce as such. So now the largest payment would be made by the state of Gujarat. That is the this overall issue. Now, if you look at the Sardar Sarovar project itself, it was envisioned by who? The name itself, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So 1946, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he said that the Narmada River and its velocity, water flow can be utilized to generate hydroelectricity, okay, or to supply water to the irrigation fields of the states and all that. And finally, after independence in 1961, the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, he inaugurated the dam, and then the Sardar Sarovar Dam was built. Now, what kind of dam it is? It is referred as concrete gravity dam. What it means? Concrete refers to concrete, that is the material used in construction of dam, and many experts argue that if you calculate the amount of concrete we have used in dam, it might become one of the largest concrete based dam not only in India but in the entire world itself. Okay, so top, at least in top 5 it will definitely come. Second, what kind of dam? Gravity dam. Basically it means that you have this shape of dam. Okay, this is how dam looks like, and here you have the water accumulation, water. So here you use very bulky, very heavy material, and because of this it does not allow water to move, resist the water flow. So when the water is coming, river water is continuously in the state of flow here. River water comes, it strikes the dam, and then what happens? Its force basically is forced to move downward as such, okay, or stop there itself. So basically we can say that why dam or how dam is able to stop the river water? What it is using? The force of gravity, because of the mass it has, humongous mass that it has, and that's why the river water is able to not move or basically get stored here. located at Navagam is the name of the place near, we have seen at the same Sardar Sarovar, we have the tallest statue in the world, that is statue of unity of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, one of the largest concrete cavity dam we have seen, and 4 states are beneficiary, right? Again, which states? Question like this can be a Sardar Sarovar Dam. Which states are the beneficiary of the Sardar Sarovar Dam? Madhya Pradesh, okay, that is where river originate from. Then Maharashtra, it flows through Gujarat, and then Rajasthan. What is the importance of this dam for local people and all? So first, provides which facility? Irrigation. Narmada Canal, I told you, from the Sardar Sarovar Dam, you have a canal that is built up that supplies water to the dry and arid parts of Gujarat. And unique part about this particular canal is that above it, what we have installed? Solar panels. So it also helps in the generation of solar electricity as such. So irrigation facilities provided, supplies drinking water because river water is fresh water, so drinking water facilities provided. Then because through the dam you can regulate the flow of water, that means what else it would do? Generate hydroelectricity. Overall, by supplying water for irrigation, it boosts agriculture productivity and then supports drought prone areas. Yeah, drought prone areas of both Rajasthan, Gujarat, and even parts of Madhya Pradesh as such. That means again, what kind of importance? You have to think from the perspective of sector. Agriculture sector is being impacted, right? Basically deriving benefit. What else? Power generation, hydropower, hydroelectricity. Third, what do we have? Household sector. How? By supply of what water? Drinking water as such. Okay, so Narmada in this area, like for example in Bangalore, what do we have? Kaveri water supply. Similarly, in these states, in these districts, what do you find? Narmada water supply. So very, very important. In drought prone area, because here you have less rainfall, that's why its significance is much more higher. Now, Narmada Water Dispute Tribunal, okay, you would have studied in the polity. Yeah, what do we have? Interstate River Water Dispute Act 1956. So under this particular act, if any river becomes disputed between any of the 2 or 3 states, then such tribunal is constituted. So that's why Narmada became an issue of dispute between these 4 rivers. That's why in the year 1969, the tribunal under ISRWDT Act is basically instituted here. 1979, finally it provided its verdict, and based on that it was decided that which state will have how much water and how much power would be shared. Because electricity, when you are producing, 4 states are there. How much electricity would you give to which state? Right? You cannot distribute it equally because demand is different, plus also the basin area is different. Gujarat would say the dam is in my state, that means I should get what? Higher share of electricity. Madhya Pradesh would say that the river is coming from my state, that means I should get what? Higher amount of electricity. That's why such issues become disputed, and the tribunal award basically is required here. Financial dispute also was the last leg of dispute, which has now been resolved as Gujarat has taken the main burden of share, right? Main share of burden. Now, from the prelims perspective, we know that river system we have to study. What is the unique point about Narmada rivers? If you compare all the peninsular river, what is the unique point? Right, it's flowing in which direction? East or west? Is it east flowing river or west flowing river? West flowing river. All other major peninsular rivers are what? East flowing rivers. Where it originates from? What is the place? Amarkantak Plateau. Okay, we have seen where Vindhya and Satpura ranges meet. So Amarkantak Plateau of Madhya Pradesh, where it empties out. So in the city, I told you. What is the name of city in Gujarat? City is called as Bharuch. So near the city of Bharuch, it enters into which region? Gulf of Khambhat, right? If you look here, the map is like this. This is which region? Coastal plain we have studied, called as Kutch. Okay, this is what region? Called as Kathiawar. Okay, between Kutch and Kathiawar, what would you find? Gulf of Kutch. And here, between Kathiawar and this is what we have referred as Gujarat coastal plain. What would you find here? Gulf of Khambhat. So, river is coming from here, Amarkantak Plateau like this, flowing between Vindhya and Satpura ranges and drains out. Drains out where? Near the city of Bharuch in the Gulf of Khambhat. So, 5th longest river. Right? Largest river obviously it is, but also if you compare the length of the major rivers, it becomes what? The 5th longest river of India after Ganga, Godavari, Krishna, Yamuna, and then we have Narmada. 1,312 kilometers is the total length. The area of basin is almost 100,000. Okay, I can better to remember in this way. 98,800, similar to okay, or kind of comparable to 100,000 square kilometers. So these are some basic facts about the river. Already all of these we have discussed in class. Okay, so same thing. Now second topic is related to when might life on the earth end, right? So recent research was published that how long can life be sustained on the earth. This also is related to a first chapter we might have discussed in geography about the sun and all. So the question was that how long will photosynthetic life, if you talk about the life today, why are we alive? Because we are getting what? Food. Where we are getting food from? Largely plants. Okay, if suppose someone said I will eat meat only, then the animals also are depending upon what? Plants, grasses, flowers and all that. So it means if photosynthetic life ends on the earth, all the form of life that we see today might also come to what? End as such. Because herbivorous species would die, carnivorous species would die, humans would also die. So US researchers have studied what is going to be the earth's future climate. In that case, they have stated this term we have talked about in the first class, that time will come when sun will enter into a phase that is referred as red giant phase. Currently sun is referred as a yellow star. Gradually what would happen? Its size would increase. Its size would increase to such an extent it would come into become a red giant phase. In that case, Mercury, Venus and Earth would be very close to the sun, maybe very near to the atmosphere of the sun. That times what we can say, sun will become hotter and much more brighter. That means definitely temperature would become high. Higher temperature would threaten the plant life. Advanced climate models were used in this particular research, and now based on this, a new estimate is being given by scientists that how long can life survive on the earth if sun keeps on growing at a rate which we have taken for this climate model based on the current this whatever development is going on. So based on this, what we are saying, that the plants that we have on the land, how long would they survive? Roughly 1.68 billion years only. Total plant extinction, right? Land plants means on the continental landmass. Apart from that, where else would you find plants? The ocean also you have the plants. So if you consider ocean plant, then also they will become extinct by how many years? 1.87 billion years as such. And about 2.1 billion years from now, what we would expect? Whatever oceans that has 70% of our Earth's surface is covered with what? Ocean itself. That ocean would start to disappear. Why would ocean disappear? What do you think is the reason? Right, so temperature is becoming so high, water cannot remain in the liquid form. In what form it will convert? Water vapor form. So that's how ocean would start to boil and basically disappear, caused by the warming that is a result of which kind of sun? Brighter sun as such. End of Earth's vegetative biosphere. So that this is how we expect that 1.68, 1.87, all these important values are there. By then life would come to an end. Now here two scenarios are given based on which the timing vary. First is what the scientists called as a strong weathering scenario. What is a strong weathering scenario? Again, why life is becoming extinct? Because the earth is getting warmer, temperature is getting warmer. And we know which is the most potent greenhouse gas? Carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, if its concentration can be reduced, effect of warming can also be reduced. So that's what they are saying, that if carbon cycle is able to remove atmospheric carbon dioxide, that means to some extent what it would do? Offset the increasing solar heat. That means the duration for which plants can live can further be extended. So based on that, they have like take an example of this crassulacean acid metabolism CAM based plant. They are basically the plants which grow in the arid areas. Okay, arid natural vegetation we have completed, right? Xerophytic vegetation we have discussed about. So xerophytic vegetation like cactus, arid areas, these plants participate in the process, metabolic process that is called as crassulacean acid metabolism. That means they only absorb CO2 during what time? Daytime. Okay, so daytime they absorb CO2 and then store it, right? Sorry, not daytime, nighttime. In nighttime they absorb CO2, store it. In daytime they not open their stomata. That's why they would not lose lot of water vapor, because when maximum transpiration would take place in the day when sunlight is available. So that's why they only engage in CO2 absorption during the night. And also because of their particular way of metabolism, they can survive at very low value of CO2. That means even if they have 1 ppm of CO2, they would be able to survive in such conditions. So that's why if such plants are taken into consideration, that's why we are saying that biosphere may last what? Slightly longer, 1.84 billion years. But that is based on what condition? Atmospheric CO2 is being removed as more and more CO2 is generated, right? On the other hand, what we are seeing based on the current situation, global warming. That means the amount of CO2, is it increasing or decreasing? Increasing. So even in the future, suppose that humans become extinct, CO2 levels will remain what? Kind of constant. It would not decrease than whatever value it has reached. In that case, we will expect the surface temperature would rise at a faster rate, okay, because CO2 is not being absorbed. That means instead of how much we have seen in the last case, 1.84 billion years, what we will expect within 1.68 billion years, what will happen? You will have the thermal limit reach. Land plant would start to disappear by 1.87 billion years, and that's when we can be sure that what would come to an end? Photosynthetic life. All form of life you have on the earth, life of the photosynthetic life form that you have on earth would come to extinction as such. Now, what is the significance of this study? So simple, it tells you about Earth's future evolution, right? Uses advanced climate modeling, highlights importance of the carbon cycle. Why highlights importance of carbon cycle? Because simple, what is the relation? If you are able to remove the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, the time duration of the photosynthetic life would be extended, life of the photosynthetic life, and that means all the higher life form would be extended. If we fail to reduce the CO2 from atmosphere, the time duration of the photosynthetic life and all other higher life form would also be shorter. So that is the overall importance of carbon cycle. It also improves us gives us understanding about the importance of habitability, and very important from the climate and astrobiology based researches. Okay, so that is the overall this we can say the research was about. Third is again related to climate change. Heat stress threatens India's dairy sector. A new report was published in the which magazine? Here, Scientific Reports. So study was published in Scientific Report where it says that heat stress which India witnesses largely due to the effect of global warming, climate change, they have led to reduction in the overall milk production, okay, amongst the cattle. Which areas? For example, regions of Haryana, or for example, you have the Trans-Gangetic Plain. So like Punjab also you can consider here. So Punjab, Haryana, part of Rajasthan, okay, upper northern Rajasthan. So in all of the states, a research was carried out, and we found that the heat stress has led to reduction in the overall milk production of the cattle, and thus we can say the dairy industry of India. Raw material for dairy industry is what? Raw milk. So climate change has become what? A major threat to the dairy industry. Not only dairy industry, many farmers of India, where do they derive their livelihood from? Milk production, selling milk-based product and all that. And also, it will threaten what? Food security, especially if you talk about India, okay, where vegetarian population is very high in percentage. So what is their major source of protein, calcium, etc. and all that? That is milk. That means if the milk yield declines, food security also will be compromised. So compromisation of food security, the compromising of food security, impact on the livelihood of farmer as well as the entire dairy sector is going to be heavily affected if climate change is not curtailed. Now, what is the key finding of study? So study says that if temperature goes above what level? 38 degrees Celsius. That's when the lowering of milk yield start. That means we can say the cattle of India are very resistant up to 37, 38 degrees Celsius. They can adjust. Similarly, not only temperature but even humidity plays a role here. So what it is believed that if humidity is above 70%, humidity we have seen it is the total amount of water vapor present in the atmosphere. So if 70%, it increases above 70%, that means the heat stress felt by cattle also significantly increases, right? And this you have to understand because temperature, if you have looked at your mobile, you would see sometimes they give two temperature. One, what is the actual major temperature by thermometer and all. So it might be 35 degrees Celsius, and nearby they will feel this write you what actually it feels like. So sometime it will be 37 degrees Celsius, sometime it will be 33 degrees Celsius. So what you feel will be slightly lower than actual temperature, can also be slightly higher than actual temperature. That depends on what factor? Humidity. Okay, this we have discussed in class that body's natural cooling mechanism depends on sweating. So body produces sweat. Sweat evaporates in the atmosphere, and while evaporating, it takes away the heat from your body, causing cooling effect. But if in the atmosphere already you have very high level of humidity, what would you observe? No evaporation of sweat. So no cooling, and at the same time will be drenched in the sweat as such. So overall, same thing happens with who? With the cattle also. So when they face high humidity condition, again they undergo heat stress, they experience heat stress, and because of this, what happens? The milk yield is impacted as such. And third, they are writing the winter temperature has little impact, because in winter temperature is anyway less than what? 38 degrees Celsius. So that's why no impact as such. The key indicator is PET. PET stands for potential evapotranspiration. Right? Potential evapotranspiration. That means, like for example, if you have a bucket of water, okay, here, suppose 10 liter of water you have. So based on the present atmospheric temperature, how much water would evaporate, right? Same thing you can say is transpiration. That means the plants that you have, based on the current temperature, how much water would plant lose. You combine both evaporation rate plus water losses by plant. What it will be referred as? Evapotranspiration. So based on a particular temperature, what is the potential evapotranspiration? That is the best indicator of what? Heat stress. Okay, because you are considering both. Evaporation depends on what? Humidity. Evaporation also depends on what? Temperature, right? So that will be a combined idea of temperature, humidity. Heat stress is the primary cause of this decline in cattle yield, milk yield. PET increases cuts. What the report is saying, that if PET increases, it would cut the milk production by how much? 1.4 liter per buffalo. Okay, if we take buffalo consideration, its milk yield will decline by 1.4 liter per day. Annual loss would be about 3.2 million tons of milk, which is very, very significant, losses. And if you translate that based on the milk price, how much dairy sector would lose every year? Almost 2,661 crore. Okay, so that's how small cuts that you have, small decline that you have in productivity can lead to a huge or significant economic losses as well. Loss may reach 15 million tons by 2050s. Why we are saying this? Why loss would be much more higher than today? Because we are seeing that the effects, basically steps we are taking to address global warming, it has not been very successful. In Paris Agreement, we decided that we would try to ensure that global temperature does not rise beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, okay, by the end of century. But now it seems that it is not possible. It would definitely rise beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius. That means the warming trend will continue. So, for example, the area where you witness now 43 degree, 44 degrees Celsius, it is quite possible in the same area by the year 2050s, the normal temperature can become 45 to 48 degrees Celsius. Higher the temperature, that means higher the heat stress, more decline in the milk yield. So loss may reach 15 million. Okay, that means almost how much? 5 times increase in the next 20-30 years that is expected. That means by 2085, milk output from India itself will fall by how much percentage? 25%. Currently, India is the largest producer of milk in the entire world. Okay, but that can further change based on how global warming and climate change play its role. Now, if you look at the science of heat stress, report says simple: high THI. THI means temperature humidity index, because again temperature is not the only factor, humidity plays a significant role. So THI, when you consider the effect of both temperature humidity index, if it is higher, heat stress is higher. And why it leads to the decline in milk yield? So scientists believe, like for example, you take cattle. So when they are subjected to high temperature, their body is under stress. When their body is under stress, the metabolic energy which they get from the food, nutrition and all that, it is not diverted in milk production. Where it is diverted in? Cooling purposes. For example, they'll start panting, for example, okay, producing saliva, producing sweat and all that. So body has limited store of energy. So majority of this energy now being diverted for cooling. That means less energy is available for the lactation and milk production and all that. So that is one reason. So that's why milk yield will fall by 20-30%. Now, reduced feed intakes also lowers productivity, because it is seen that if the body of cattle are stressed, if they are living in hot condition, their hunger drive is lesser than normal. That means they are eating less. So two disadvantage you have. One, metabolic energy, whatever limited they have, diverted for cooling. Second, they are eating or taking also what? Lesser amount, lesser volume of energy. So Third problem would be what? In such condition, if your body is stressed, you become what? Immunocompromised. Immune system does not work well. That means these cattle would be susceptible to getting disease. Okay, higher disease susceptibility will be there. So in these three ways, we can say the milk production can decrease. Now, also the research was focused upon breed-wise vulnerability. So it was seen that if you can, first of all, if you compare buffaloes and cows, who are most vulnerable to heat stress? Buffaloes. Why? Because scientists say that their color, what is the color of buffalo? Dark, black color. So we know that if the color is black, darker, absorption of light is more, energy is more. So their surface, their skin becomes hotter more compared to this light color cows. Second, also buffalo have relatively less number of sweat glands. Right? So we have seen what is body's natural cooling mechanism? Sweating. So if number of sweat glands are less, they are producing less sweat. Less sweat means less cooling. So that's why they are most vulnerable to such a stress. Crossbred cattle also are highly vulnerable because these crossbred cattle we have brought this genes from where? From which countries? European countries. European countries have which kind of temperature? Low temperature, temperate area. So from temperate areas, if you are introducing the genes, survival will become very, very difficult. Adjustment will become very, very difficult in the tropical climate, especially when temperature is continuously rising. Who are most resilient? Indigenous breed. Okay, that means the India's own breed because they have evolved naturally in the tropical climate, high temperature areas. So, for example, the breed of cows such as Sahiwal, okay, that is Sahiwal, Gir cow from Gujarat, Haryana cow from Haryana. These are heat tolerant and they are more resilient in nature. The milk yield will be less. Drop in milk yield would be lesser in these varieties of cow. So adaptation basically what we can say. It is not same for every breed of cattle. Buffaloes are more, we can say, vulnerable. These indigenous breed of cows are less vulnerable, while the crossbreed cows are somewhere in the intermediate range. What is the implications of this entire thing? So, based on the current data from Ministry of Agriculture, almost 80 million farmers directly depend upon dairy sector for their income. So, any decline of productivity in dairy sector is going to what? Influence their income as such. Apart from that, when you talk about CPI, what is CPI? Consumer Price Index. So the changes in that is they're giving you an idea about the inflation, food inflation. Milk has significant value there, milk and milk-based product. That means if milk prices rises, what would you experience? The general consumer would experience inflation. So income losses for farmers, inflation for general consumer, threat to who? Which sector? Dairy cooperative sector, because raw milk, the supply of raw material is reducing. Reduce nutritional security, right? Because again, you are having less milk-based product. And most importantly, it is seen in the rural areas, women constitute over 70% of India's dairy workforce. That means if the income is being lost, if the job is being lost, who or which gender is going to be adversely impacted or disproportionately impacted? It is the women. So to some extent, gender empowerment, gender equality that we talk about will also be compromised due to the declining milk yield. Now, climate and agriculture, if you look at apart from the food perspective, what other disadvantages will have? So lesser farm yard manure, because number of cows will reduce, because death would be higher, disease would be higher, so manure would be reduced. And if manure is produced at lower rate, farmers would more depend upon which kind of minerals? Fertilizer, artificial, chemical fertilizer. Apart from that, it is also said that suppose a farmer who was dependent upon dairy industry earlier had 10 cattle, right? And they were producing 100 liters of milk, and based on that he has an income. If the milk will decline, he still would want to have 100 liters of milk. So for now, for example, what he can do? Increase the number of cows. So instead of 10, he will have 20 cows. In that case, we know that the cattle are one of the largest source of emission of which gases? Methane gases, right? So methane gases would be emitted. Methane gases are which kind of gas? You can say it is greenhouse gas. Now greenhouse gas, see, it is a vicious cycle. More greenhouse gases being emitted. That means what you can say? More heat would be trapped. That means atmospheric temperature would further rise. That means the cattle will face what? More heat stress. So more number of cows now. So due to this, what will happen? A vicious cycle will be created that will overall reduce the efficiency of the sector, productivity of the sector. More stubble burning risk, we can say, threat to the food sovereignty, because if you are losing the this milk and milk-based product, we might have to import also in the future. Way forward is THI and PAT early warning systems should be created based on what is the temperature humidity index and what is the current potential evapotranspiration rate as such. Promote which kind of breed? Rather than depending upon the cross breeds from Europe and all, we have to promote indigenous breed because they are more resilient. Climate smart livestock infrastructure. So example, in the areas where temperature is very high, what we should provide near the cattle shed and areas? Water, okay, where they can cool down and all that. A sprinkler system can be provided. Okay, animals should be put in the shade areas. They should not be exposed to the heat, temperature and all that. Improve that same thing. Improve cooling and water facilities, and also government should make provision where farmers' livelihood should be supported, should be protected by having which kind of insurance? Heat index based insurance. If heat index increases, the farmer should be allowed to get some insurance money and all that, because they are losing productivity and milk yield and all that. Plus financial support to the dairy farmer. That is the recommendation. Then third topic is a fourth one, I think. NCLAT uphold ED's PMLA powers over insolvency moratorium. So basically what is going on? Two bodies are fighting with each other. Okay, So you have NCLAT, National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, right? It has clarified conflict between two bodies, two acts we can say. So this is what is PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and IBC is what? Insolvency and banking resolution, something that you have. Basically, some company is shutting down, right? Company might have taken a lot of loans. It might have issued share to the shareholders and all that, right? So in that case, IBC proceeding continues. So that what happens during insolvency, it is decided how much asset company has. Assets has to be sold and creditors has to be returned money, given money and all that. So this entire resolution proceeding was going on. The issue was related to Siddhi Vinayak Logistic Limited. That company was at the heart of this dispute. The problem is the company was said to be involved in which kind of crime? Money laundering. Okay, so when money laundering is concerned, which department is coming into picture here? Enforcement Directorate. They have to take action. They take action based on which law? PMLA law. And then based on the law, power given to them under the law, ED then attach means seize the assets of this particular company at the same time when what is going on? Insolvency is going on. So at one place you have the NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal. This is appellate tribunal, NCLT. They are ensuring that how much asset company has, based on that the creditors can be returned back money. And at the same time, whatever asset they have, it is being seized, frozen by Enforcement Directorate. So would it impact insolvency or not? It would impact. So that's why they went to the court. So the question in the front of the NCLAT was, can IBC moratorium stop ED action? Because based on the IBC law, if any company is undergoing insolvency, in that case, its assets cannot be interfered with. No one can buy it, no one can sell it, no one can seize it and do anything like that. That is under the IBC mandate. But ED is still, what it did? It seized the asset. So that is what the fight was. What NCLAT ruled? That no, just because IBC a moratorium is provided that company assets cannot be interfered with, it does not mean that ED will not do so. ED can do so. That means this particular verdict has been in the favor of which department? Enforcement Directorate. Okay, that is the overall crux of the decision. Now, what is the Supreme Court cases? Two cases are there related to that. First is P. Mohan Raj versus Shah Brothers case 2021, where the Supreme Court stated that IBC moratorium would bar any kind of coercive recovery. No one can sell anything or touch the assets of any company when moratorium is in place. Other ruling is kind of opposite. That is related to embassy property versus state of Karnataka in 2019. In there, what Supreme Court stated, that in the case of PMLA or Enforcement Directorate involvement, such things can be done. Seizure of the assets can be allowed. NCLAT cannot review actions under other laws. These bodies can only take action under which law? Under the IBC law. If the asset is being frozen, under which law? For example, in this case, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. That means NCLT will not be able to review those actions, right? So NCLT relied on the embassy property ruling. Based on that, they have given the judgment in the favor of ED. Now, what is the key finding of this judgment? First of all, we know IBC resolves insolvency. That is its clear goal, or a stated goal we can say, a stated jurisdiction we can say. PMLA on the other hand, what it does? It targets proceeds of crime, black money, money laundering and all that. And that means NCLT is saying that IBC has different objective scope, PMLA has different scope and objectives. So that means moratorium is not absolute. Both laws operate independently. That means what we can say is that section 14, for example, of IBC, it protects the legitimate assets. And it is understandable because suppose, let us take example, a company has 2 factories, right? And now company has shut down. It does not have any money to run it. So now what IBC will say, that whatever assets you have, whatever companies inside what you have, you cannot really do anything with that, right? So that creditors can be given money. That is under which act? Section 14 of IBC. On the other hand, what the court is now saying, that inside these companies, factories, if some assets were, what kind of assets? Linked to crime. Okay, might have been purchased, let us suppose, by black money as such, or there is no record of whether the assets were involved in crime and all. In that case, ED may continue attaching it, seizing it. PMLA proceedings will continue during the insolvency resolution procedure itself. Creditors cannot override criminal law. If someone has taken a loan from you and not giving you loan, giving you money back, it becomes which kind of suit? Civil suit, right? This money laundering, which kind of act? Criminal act. So it is dealt under criminal law. So civil law, such as receiving of money by creditors, cannot override the criminal law. Just because you have invested in this company, okay, you cannot ask ED to not attach it, confiscate it, because it is linked to crime as such. Okay, that is the overall essence. Significance of judgment, if you look, what is significance? What is the reason why judgment is in the favor of enforcement directorate? Because here priority is given to what? National interest as such. Okay, so that black money, money laundering, any kind of criminal activities can be penalized stringently. Crime linked assets may be confiscated no matter what state of resolution is going on here. NCLT cannot review the order given by who? Enforcement directorate. Again, why? They are IBC. ED is working under what? PMLA. So there is no convergence of law. Thus, challenge ED action under PMLA, it is not allowed. It strengthens anti-money laundering. That is the overall, we can say, the judgments, this verdict is. Next is AI is reshaping warfare. How India can keep pace? Simple, because you know that today it is also being referred by many scholars as Manhattan era. Artificial intelligence in the defense has entered what is being referred as Manhattan era. The project Manhattan you would have studied about. It refers to the development of which kind of weapon? Weapon. So how nuclear weapon change the entire, you can say, the defense system or the war related system. Similarly, artificial intelligence is also changing and reshaping the warfare and conflict. That's what the topic is. Now, what is the observation? Is that instead of hardware in the military sense, what is evolving at much more faster rate? Software. That is the observation. AI driven military decision making is being seen amongst many countries of the world. And for this particular topic or article, 2 countries are being studied. One is Ukraine, other is US. So here we can know from last 4 years, Russia-Ukraine war is going on. And there what we are seeing, that rather than a conventional warfare where you have the battle of tanks, artilleries, weapons and all that, aircrafts and all, it has now evolved, or it has basically, we can say, translated and transformed into which kind of era? AI driven era. Okay, AI driven warfare is going on. Autonomous systems are changing combat. That means you do not even have to involve the humans here. Artificial intelligence based systems are there. Based on the threat, they are taking decisions by themselves. They are shooting, okay, for example, the bullets and all, whatever you have. So that's why there is also necessity that India must build sovereign AI capabilities. That is the discussion topic. So when you talk about the algorithmic warfare, and the term that is used is skill wave, one change that we are seeing in the warfare today is this. Now we have relatively much more faster sensor to shooter cycle. What it means? Like air defense system you take. Suppose Pakistan launched a missile toward India. How India's defense system would work? So you have radars. Radars would track the missile where it is coming to. Radars would track the missile, then send the information to your missile launcher that you have, air defense launcher. Then this information would be received by the launcher. Launcher would then track the path of this incoming missile and will throw the projectile, basically launch the projectile. Both will collide. Missile would be destroyed in the air atmosphere itself without it can fall on the earth surface. So some time is being spent here. from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and all that. By the artificial intelligence, what many countries have done, they have made this entire process much more faster. That means time taken to track and kill the incoming missile or incoming drones, whatever you have, has become much more faster than pre-AI era. Okay, that's the first observation. Second, real-time battlefield data fusion. Data fusion means now we are not relying on only one source for data collection. Now we have integrated. What we have integrated? Example, satellite-based surveillance system you have. Apart from that, what you can have? Drone-based surveillance system you will have. Right? Apart from that, what you can have? Radar-based system that you'll have. So several systems are continuously providing you data. Now you are not looking at each of them in isolated manner. You are looking at the comprehensive picture by fusing the data from all the sources, okay, including human intelligence and all that. Rapid target detection engagement, we have seen. Digital kill wave has replaced the linear command. What it means is that earlier you see that what is going on. So for example, enemy tank is coming into your territory. How generally earlier time military used to work? So whoever is the commander here near the border, he would inform to his superior officials. Superior officers might inform to the higher ups. Higher ups would take all this situation into consideration. They'll talk with the politicians and all that if required. Based on that, they would again say what need to be done. Whether you have to attack them, whether they have to give them warning, okay, whether you have to retreat and all that. So this is example of which kind of command? Linear command. From junior level to senior level to higher senior level and all that, and backflow. Now, what is being seen, especially across the Ukraine war, is this entire chain of command is replaced by digital kill wave. That means the decision is not taken by humans. Who is taking decision? Machines themselves based on the data input they are getting. So, for example, you have drone system, surveillance is going on. The surveillance drone has reported that a tank is coming toward your territory. That information would be given to the, for example, air defense system that you might have. And then the defense system itself would fire and destroy that tanks. Is there any human involvement? To some extent, very less human involvement. So what is going on? The general human linear command is being replaced by the digital information, digital kill command and all that. So Project Maven, this is from USA, a similar project. And Delta, this is from Ukraine. Two such projects have been seen recently, that is operating on the basis of digital kill wave. Maven and Delta. Maven of US, Delta of Ukraine. Rise of autonomous systems. So AI-powered land, sea, air platform. In the future, you would see its fusion everywhere in all the kind of battle. Human-machine collaboration we might see. Fighter aircraft also, many people are saying that till now, even 5th generation fighter aircraft, the most advanced fighter aircraft that you create, they are operated by who? Humans. In the future, what we would see? Autonomous. That means the aircraft could operate itself. There is no need of any human pilot and all that. So they would have enough capability that they can gather all the information, data, and they might even take decisions based on those data. That means they would fire the missiles based on their own artificial intelligence system and all that. There is no need of involving humans in decision making. AI naval system will also see. Overall, defense startup would play a very important role here, because most of the innovation which we are seeing in the artificial intelligence sector is not coming from the large companies, old companies that you have. They are largely coming from the small startups, okay, that you have. So they are going to play a very important role. So drone warfare and AI, FPV drone dominates battlefield. FPV is like first person view. Okay, so it operates like this. For example, this person has control of this view. He has this kind of, you can understand, goggles where he is looking through the view of drone. Basically, if you are using this, it would feel that you are in the drone itself. You have the aerial awareness of this entire area. You see some enemy aircraft, enemy soldiers. What you do? You click the button. Drone would fire, okay, whatever it has, or it might be kamikaze drone. It can simply go and strike and then, okay, destroy the enemy. So that is the FPV drone. They seem to be now dominating the battlefield, and it is clear. It is also preferable because loss of human life would be relatively lesser for the companies who adopted. Right, adapted. Countries which adapted. Heavy armor increasingly are becoming vulnerable. An example of this we can see in Russia-Ukraine war. Again, very good example. Right. So, when Russia waged the war, basically what they expected. In 3 days, war would be over. Why? Because if you compare the military capabilities of Russia, it was very high compared to Ukraine. They have thousands and thousands of tanks. Ukraine has few hundred tanks and all that. So that's what they thought. They still were living in the World War II era. So they sent hundreds of tanks in the roads. You have single road, around the forest connecting the Russia to Ukraine. So in one line, hundreds of drones are coming. What Ukraine did, they used the drone, okay, and this unmanned aerial vehicles and all that, and targeted the tank in the middle. One drone targeted a tank in the front. One drone targeted a tank in the rear part. What happens? Now tank is very heavy object. Nearby, this is fully marshy area. Okay, there is no road and all that. So it is not possible that you can just remove the tank and start moving again. If you start moving again other trike will come. So basically, because of such action, what happened? This entire convoy that you have hundreds of tanks, they basically become a standstill. They cannot move at all. And the people who are inside, the fighter they have inside, they are simply what? On the mercy of Ukrainian drone operators, because anytime drone can come and kill them as such. So that viewpoint from the World War II era had seemed to be what? Completely futile in this approach. That's why for many days they were simply stranded on the roads, could not move inside. So that is because we are saying that heavy armors are what? Increasingly vulnerable, because they're heavy. Once they are destroyed, they cannot simply be replaced and cannot be removed from the area. Persistent battlefield surveillance is being seen by the drones. Mass drone production. For example, Ukraine says that by end of next year, they would be producing how many numbers of drone? 8 million drones. Okay, imagine. So 8 million drones. And the advantage is the cost of production of drone is much more lesser. Second, they are more precise. And third, life risk to the human life is very less. A person sitting far behind inside in the control center can cause destruction and damage near the aircrafts, near the tanks and all, by using drone systems. So that's why the evolution of warfare we are seeing here. Now India also has taken several initiatives. Some important projects is Project Sanjay and Project Trinitra, a similar kind of project. ETAI, evaluating trustworthy artificial intelligence. Aditi scheme they have launched. AI-enabled military applications we are also seeing. And last current affairs class, I think we have discussed. What we have created recently a specialized drone battalion that is referred as Baj battalion. So that gives you importance, tells you importance of the drone and AI based system. Challenges are several. First of all, it does not matter how strong or good is your system, defense system. It is always compared relative to your enemy, okay, who can challenge you, threaten you. So if you compare China's AI military and India's AI military development, China seems to be at clear advantageous position as of now. Their system is much more advanced. In India, still is operating a fragmented military network. For example, do not have a cohesiveness. Still in India, the decision is taken at the battalion level. Okay, you have different regiments and all that. So that is called as fragmented military network. Limited tactical bandwidth. The areas where you might have to fight war. What can be example of such region? Himalayas. So in Himalayas, because first of all it is very high altitude terrain, you have a lot of valleys and these kind of areas. Not all the systems are properly functioning there. Communication system are not very well developed. Satellite might be there, efficacy might be very limited because of the weather changes and all that. Dependence on foreign technology in all of these sectors, even in military sector, when you talk about our dependency on equipments, electronics, sensor, right? For example, GPUs, if you talk about chips, you talk about, we have not been able to develop it, manufacture it inside India. We still depended upon which country? Other countries, foreign countries. And interestingly, if you talk about chip, entire artificial intelligence is simply based on which technology? Chip-based technology, semiconductor technology. Who is the dominant country there? China, right? So in case we go to war with China, can we expect that we will have enough adequate supply of this? No, unless until we build some alternative supply chain. So these are the challenges we have to face. Hardware-centric procurement again is dependent upon foreign countries and all that. So unless and until we try to make it indigenously or become sovereign in the field of chips manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing, defense hardware manufacturing, we will have difficulty in tackling China as a threat. Right? So these were the topics. Now, few questions if you look at from the topic we have discussed. The IBC moratorium protects all assets of corporate debtor. Proceedings under the PMLA can continue despite IBC moratorium. Insolvency tribunals can review ED attachment orders under PMLA. What is the correct answer? This we have seen. What NCLT has said? No. Insolvency tribunal will only look at IBC. ED is working under different law. They cannot review the order. IBC moratorium protect all assets. This is also false. The assets which are obtained from criminal activities, they are not protected. Only legitimate assets are protected, right? So what is the correct answer? Only A, 2 only. Next is AI in modern warfare. Consider the following statement. Project Marvel we have discussed, launched by which country? United States, 2017 that launched. Killwave refer to integrating sensors, AI and shooters into a real-time combat network. Yes, okay. Based on sensor would sense what is the movement of enemy, where is the movement of enemy. AI would compile the data, synthesize the data, and based on this, shooters would be given the command, and then they would launch missiles, bullets, whatever you have, to kill the enemy or enemy radars or whatever you have. So this is what we call as kill web. Human action is missing. Technology itself is deciding factor. India's Trinatra system is integrated with Project Sanjay that we have seen. So, what is the correct answer? All three, right? D, 1, 2, and 3. Then increasing solar luminosity is expected to eventually make Earth unsuitable for photosynthetic light. True or false? True. Okay. Luminosity means more heat, energy, light. Under the strong weathering scenario, Earth's carbon cycle may delay the extinction of planet life. Okay, we have seen if carbon dioxide you are able to remove, the life or the extinction of plant life would take place at a longer time duration. PET determines the future of photosynthetic life. This is also correct. So all the three. Then Sardar Sarovar project. What is the correct answer? I think it is easier. You should be able to tell. Right. What's the correct answer? Gravity dam we have discussed, concrete gravity dam, Narmada Water Dispute Tribunal under the IAS RWD Act 1956. Narmada river flows where? In the Gulf of Khambat, that is which sea? Arabian Sea. What is the correct answer? A, 1 and 2. Alright, so that's all.